I'm doing it. I don't care. Today I'll do my first video in English for Pokemon Auto Chess itemization guide. Guys, let's appreciate my French accent. I'll try to do my best not to frighten English native speakers among you that may be shocked by how bad I'm sometimes finding my words. I'll explain to you how you should build your Pokemons on Pokemon Auto Chess, what items you should use on them, why you should do them, and I did that with the means of a tier list on stream just a few minutes ago, and I just realized that I did not register the stream. So you can see it, nobody can actually, and I think it's a pity that this guide that I think was very useful is just non-existent now and nobody can access it. So I'll just do the work twice, and I'll probably turn the same video once again in French later because some of my viewers will likely not speak English, and I love my Frenchies besties, of course. But anyway, let's start right now. Itemization. In Pokemon Auto Chess, you have to separate three categories of items. First, you have components. They are half items. Two components make one full items. In French, it's called composant. That's why I didn't write component, but composant right here. And I just classed them in their own category. However, I just put the magnet on the top left here in S tier because as a component, the magnet seems to be above the others, which is why I just want to highlight that this component, and is highly discussed right now, may actually deserve a slight nerf. Anyway, there are mainly, and I mean mainly, three types of items in Pokemon Auto Chess. Tank items, first and foremost. AD carry items, so attack speed and AD, secondly. And thirdly, last but not least, AP items, which give mana and give ability power. And there are a few items that are in between these categories that are very specific at what they're doing and they cannot really be classified. So, what do items do? They give power to their holder, statistics and additional effects that are unique to each and every one of these items. Items in auto chesses in general are quite strong and quite useful. However, in Pokemon Auto Chess, they are super strong. Most of the strength of a unit in Pokemon Auto Chess comes from its items and not from the unit itself. So it's very, very important that you learn how to stuff your Pokemons accordingly, way more important than in teamfight tactics. That's mandatory. If you do not know how to build your Pokemons, you will not win a lot of games. You will do bottom games. Top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8. You will not do top 1 against a player that knows how to itemize his carries. If you don't, that's just impossible. So we'll start with concept, basic concept. Statistics in an auto chess can complement each other. If you play the usual Pokemon games, like on Showdown, for example, I think a lot of you come from there. You already know the concept. If a Pokemon has a high pool of HP but low resistances is not really all that tanky. If he has a ton of resistances but not a large pool of HP to benefit from it, is not really that tanky. However, if he has an average number of HP and an average number of resistance, is way more tanky than a Pokemon that would have tons of resistances and no HP, because statistics complements each other, right? What do HP do for resistances? If you have more HP, then your resistances are applied for a larger number of meat. If you are more meaty and you receive hits, you have more meat to receive these hits, and so you benefit a lot more from reducing the damage of these hits, right? What do resistances do for HP? If you have a lot of meat, but when you eat it, you just destroy it instantly, there's no point having a lot of meat. However, if you make it resistance, then having a lot of meat weight resistance makes a lot of sense. So if you already have a lot of armor or MR, you want to build a lot of HP. If you already have resistances, you want to build meat for this meat to be resistant, right? If you already have a lot of HP, you want to build resistances, right? Because if you have a lot of meat, you want it to become resistant. The same concept applies with aggressive statistics. If you have a ton of AD, attack damage, you want to build attack speed. What does attack speed does for attack damage? It applies a lot more hits, and so if your hits deal a ton of damage, you will do a ton of damage many times. If you already have a high attack speed, you already hit super fast, but every hit is like a mosquito sting. That's useless, right? So you want to build attack damage. This way, you hit super fast, but you also hit like a truck. Alright? Does that make sense? Statistics complement each other. What does attack speed do for attack speed? Nothing. You hit super fast, and you will hit just faster. That's not completely useless, but that's at best underwhelming. What does AD do for AD? Nothing. You hit like a truck, you will hit more like a truck, but the more AD you get, the more your attack speed that you already have is effective. However, if you already have a lot of AD, adding more AD over that does not increase the efficiency of the AD you already have. Does this make sense? Very particular statistic is critical damage. Critical damage amplifies itself. It's additive. So the more critical critical strike chance you have, the more you want to add critical strike chance over it. I'm literally lost in my words right here. What I mean by that is that if you have already 50% crit chance, it's always good to build 50% more. Okay? More crit chance increases your current crit chance. The concept that I explained with AD and attack speed does not apply for crits, unless you are already with 100% crit chance, which is, I think, impossible outside of dark comps and without 3 items. So you want to build crit items over crit items, but that's the only case you want to build the same stat over and over again. I think right here I explained it way more clearly than what I did before. So, what items should you build? I think I didn't say that you should always build it in combo. If you put an item on a Pokemon, you reinforce this Pokemon. If you put a second item on the same Pokemon, This second item boosts not only the Pokemon, but it also boosts the first item you put on this Pokemon. Items reinforce each other. So you always want to make a lot of items on one single Pokemon. If you have 6 items, ideally you should have 2 Pokemon with 3 items each. That is the best outcome. And of course, you have the stones, the elementary stones that are a particular case. And that cannot really follow this rule. So, let's get rid of the stones. What you must understand is that if you are looking at this tier list, the strength of a stone depends on the strength of its synergy. Right? That makes a lot of sense. However, when you put a stone on a Pokemon, you use an item slot from this Pokemon, which means that you have one less spot for a damage item or a tanky item. Alright? So when you put a stone on a Pokemon to activate a synergy, this synergy boosts every other Pokemon in your composition that has this synergy. So what you should do with stones, you should put it on a Pokemon that is not your carry, but by putting it on this Pokemon, you will reinforce your synergy, thus reinforce your carry that already has this synergy activated for himself, and on this carry that is reinforced by the stone you gave another Pokemon, on this carry you give 3 items. Does it make sense? I think it makes a lot of sense. The exception being, of course, Litwick, which is absurdly strong with a Thunderstone and a Duskstone. So on Litwick specifically, you put him a stone and 2 carry items, but that's because Litwick is broken. That's a specific case and you should not take it as a generality. Let's focus on some specific item combinations. We'll start with tank items. We have mainly one item that give HP in the game, and it's the Oran Berry. Super good item. It's never bad to put an Oran Berry on any unit, even on a carry. If in the last seconds of a fight he's focused but he has 150 more HP, survives with like 20 HP and kills the enemy comp, then Oran Berry did its job, right? Oran Berry on any Pokemon is never bad. That's why this item is so good. And you always want to have it because it complements every other tank item in the game so beautifully. Let's take Pokédoll for example. Pokédoll reduces all the damage you take, except true damage, by 30%. So if you are already very beefy, you have a lot of HP, you can tank a ton of damage, and all this damage that you can tank will be reduced by 30%. So basically you reinforce your current tankiness by your current HP tankiness by 30%. What I mean by HP tankiness is that Pokédoll does not reinforce your resistances. It only reinforces your HP pool. So these items combine beautifully. Super good combo. But also, you have these 2 items that have super stats. Smoke Ball. Smoke Ball, every time you take an auto attack, the attacker is paralyzed. You can check what paralyzing a unit does in the wiki. It reduces its attack speed. 40%. That's huge. You are slowing down every unit that is hitting you. So the longer you can get hit, the longer you will slow down the enemy DPS. The more units focus you, the more they are slowed down. So with a high pool of HP, this item can be super efficient. But as a standalone item, it already does its job beautifully. Even a squishy Pokemon, you put him in front, it takes just a few hits, he's already reduced the DPS of the Pokemon that hit him for a few seconds. Which will help all your composition. This item has super good stats and win rate because as a standalone item it's super good already, but combine with items that are good with it, it's even stronger, and I think it can skyrocket in terms of win rate. Shiny Charm, same concept. Shiny Charm, every time you take an auto attack, you have a chance to proc Protect for 105 seconds. So the more you can take hits, the more you can proc Protect, and the more you can be obnoxious to the enemy carries. So combines beautifully with Pokédoll and Oranberry. So two super strong combinations are Oranberry, Pokédoll, Shiny Charm, or Oranberry, Pokédoll, Smoke Ball. Super good on tanks. You should always do that. In very specific cases, when you need to counter critical strikes and heavy physical compositions, you can build Rocky Helmet. However, at the moment, the strongest AD comp is probably Dark Ghost, and getting 18 armor against ghosts that deal true damage is pretty pointless. So this item is currently underwhelming. Most of the damage in the game right now is physical damage. So right here, the battle vest is pretty underwhelming too. That covers tanks. I didn't really talk about these two items. At the moment, generating mana, as you can see in the tier list, is very, very little. It's inefficient. These items are the lowest win rates among all items, so you do not want to generate mana to cast abilities several times. So this item right here is underwhelming because that's exactly what it does. Every time you cast your ability, you gain a shield. Casting a lot of abilities makes this item good. However, casting a lot of abilities isn't good. So this item isn't good. And these items just send back to the dealer half of the AP damage you should take. However, AP damage is not the main issue right now in the game, so this item is underwhelming too. Eventually, you can counter fairies with this, and that can be a lot of fun to see fairy frontlines blow themselves. Let's talk about bruiser items. So bruiser are frontline Pokemons that are beefy, but that are here to be your carry and deal damage. You want to be both tanky and deal damage. Garchomp, Rhyhorn. These are the two main examples that I can think of right now. Can I think of another? Garchomp, Rhyhorn. Mainly these two right now, I think. Luxray too. What do you do with these Pokemons? They are gonna take hits because they are frontliners, right? So you want them to be beefy and regen as they hit. So a good combination of item will be X-Ray, increases their attack speed, they already have high AD pools, plus leftovers, every hit they regen, because they are in front lines they take hits, so regen is actually effective on them, and probably max revive, because this way they will just come back to life, because they are exposed, they can get focused, die, lose the focus, come back, and have a second chance. On the frontline units that want to be carries, very efficient. If you can build this, Red Orb is always a good option. You can complement their attack speed instead of X-rays with Grassy on partners that will be next to them. That can work. Okay, that's for bruisers. There's not much to say. This item combination may be the best. You can replace X-rays with this upgrade. Does the same work, scales a little better, burst a little worse. Carry items. AD carry items. So to build on ranged Pokemons that want to be the main damage dealer on your teams. Red Orb gives 10 AD and increases your DPS by 20%, adding 20% true damage to your DPS. That's super strong, good in every situation. to combine with attack speed. So X-rays, upgrade, same concepts. AD complements with attack speed. That's pretty self-explaining. On this kind of carries, either you do 2 attack speed item, 1 AD item, or you do 1 attack speed item, 2 AD items. By AD items I mean Red Orb right here, Flame Orb right here, Fire Gem right here. I can talk about a specific combination that deals on it damage and that deals it more wide than vertically. You can build X-rays with Fire Gem and Choice Scarf. This item combination specifically spreads your damage over the enemy front line, right? You spread the damage, you do not focus mainly on one unit. Choice Scarf creates a bolt that hits another unit closer to your main target, and that procs on it effects. So you spread your damage over the front line, right? Efficient with on it effects. That's exactly what Fire Gem gives you. So attack speed, any of those. Fire Gem, Choice Scarf, quite good. Quite a good combination actually. Let's end up with AP items. Currently AP carries are not the flavor of the month, obviously. Best items is probably Choice Specs, doubles your AP damage. If your Volcarona does 120 damage with its ability, now it deals 240. Literally double your damage. Quite super strong. What do you combine it with? Mana generation, really not. Honestly, attack speed. This item, I don't think you should build full AP carries right now. They are really underwhelming. As a standalone, this item is quite good. In a crit setup, this item is quite good. Especially after the nerf, I think this item is underwhelming. Better play AD, guys. Honestly, better play AD and wait until Psychic comps are meta again. Crit builds! What do we do about crit builds? Either they are dark comps that already have built-in critical strike chance, or if you want to build crit, you have to build Razorfang. Razorfang gives your Pokemon 55% crit chance. It's the only item in the game that gives a significant amount of crit chance. If you want to do critical strikes and you are not a dark composition, you need this item. It's the centerpiece of every critical strategy, critical strike strategy. This item plus Reaper Cloth plus any attack speed item on a Pokemon that have both a good range, good stats, and a good spell, specifically Volcarona. Excuse me, I'm calling him Pyrax because it's his its French name. Specifically Volcarona, you hit a lot. You hit a lot faster. You already have a lot of AD. Built-in AD because it's a fire Pokemon, and every fire Pokemon, every time it hits in a fire comp, it gains AD. So you do not need to build AD on him. So you can build AP. Either critical strike to benefit from your base AD and attack speed, or specs plus let's say could be added on Volcarona. Let's say this thing, 25% crit chance. Sometimes you will generate mana. That's not the worst item. This kind of setup on some Pokemon that have both a very good spell and good range and AD statistics, those can work. I'll end this video with the items that are like standalone, specifically standalone item. Wonderbox here gives you 2 random items. When you cannot do better, just use this item. Having 2 random is better than having nothing, I guess. However, you should always try to build items that you specifically need rather than random items. This item has a good win rate right now because a lot of the player base does not know how to itemize their Pokemons. Once they learn how to do it, this item should drop in win rate. At least I expect it to drop in win rate. What else can there be to say? I think I said everything. This item is critically underrated. It has one of the worst win rates in the game right now. It doubles your AD at the cost of burning and being unable to heal yourself, so your mon will slowly die, but it will do double its damage, basically. It's good on some Pokemon that have already a huge AD pool, such as in turn 10 Spiritomb, in turn 20 Darkrai. I can think of these 2, but there may be a lot more. Here we do not talk about Wildlands, gives range to your Pokemon. On some units that have super good stats because they are melee units and you want to make them range units to benefit from them their stats being higher, you can do these items and make them super strong beat sticks. I guess the Rhyhorn family and Garchomp are the best examples of that, but Tauros kinda does the same thing. You can also reinforce 2 ranged mon into 4 ranged mon. That's a lot less awkward. Spiritomb benefits a lot from this. You can think of what is its name again? Darkfire Houndoom. Houndoom can benefit a lot from these 2. Very specific to transform melee units into ranged. And Gracidia, critically underrated item. It's the 4th best win rate among all items in the game, and it's been like this for months. Nobody is talking about it. I think it's absolutely OP, and you should abuse it once while you can. This thing is just super strong, and I don't understand why people don't play it. This one, pièce rune in French. How is it called? Rune something, probably in Amulet Coin. Amulet Coin, right. Amulet Coin in English. This item, if you can have it early on, it's super strong. If you have it later on, it's underwhelming. If you can get its components in the first round right after the Magikarp, you randomly get one ice item and you can choose a fire, a Charcolier. You take them, you combine it, you put your Amulet Coin on any random Pokemon on your bench, and this item can actually generate gold against Raticate. So you can start with a maximum of +3 gold, round 2, that will likely create how do you call that right now? Interest gold. And so these gold that you generate early will snowball into an economics like you never have before. Having this in the first few rounds in the game can really make you snowball into an uncontrollable beast. You will be able to buy any XP you want, roll anything you want. You won't even believe how good having this item early on is. However, if you can make it later, that feels a lot more underwhelming. But if you can build your powerhouse, you should basically always do it. So if you get it in the first round, I advise you to always build it and try to do something with it. I hope that the tips I gave you in this video will be useful to you. I hope that my English, that is not all that fluent yet because I'm not used to speaking English for longer periods of time, did not disturb you too much. I do my best, believe it or not, and do not hesitate to tell me in the comments of this video if you want more content like this. If I have a lot of English speakers that show me their interest in my content, I may continue doing English content instead of French content sometimes, especially in my guides. However, if you do not, I keep going in French, so it's up to you right now to choose if I will help you climb the pack ladder or not. Thank you for listening to me. I'll see you in my next stream, next video, whatever. Good luck in your games, and of course, bye bye.